Hi guys, it's Jay Kaushal, writer, motivational speaker, and life coach. And I'm back with another brand new series. And this is a video that I had been wanting to do for a long while. And I put a lot of effort into it, making this entire presentation, compiling all the facts, compiling all of the information. And the reason that I'm very excited about this video is because, see, here on this channel, Coach Kaushal, we try to get as much as we can into the understanding of the human mind, the understanding of people, the understanding of personalities. Vedic astrology, numerology, that these are some of the methods, that help us, that allow us, unconventional methods that allow us to understand, people from a perspective which is not readily available to us. But sooner rather than later, I also want to get into exploring and sharing with you the many tools that I use in my life coaching practice. Because the way that I like to function is I like to take a 360-degree view, collect as much information as I can about the individual from as many perspectives and avenues as is possible. Graphology, body language, ocular kinesics, and as we're talking about today, the MBTI, personality tests, and we have these personality tests in management as well. Understanding people from that perspective, and 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 then arranging it together in a way which shows us a lot of intersections and overlaps of behavior, which help us take a lot of good decisions with respect to guiding the person, with respect to recruitment, with respect to managing their potential. Okay, we're also going to be talking about psychology pretty soon. We're also going to be talking about NLP pretty soon. You must have heard, right? NLP, trained life coach. What is NLP about? What things does NLP talk about? What exactly do you get to study in life coaching? Why are they charging so much for that? So all of these things I intend to cover while keeping the overall theme, which is going to be holistic in nature. Okay, so I hope you enjoy this. You can just access this PPT later on through the website. You can just download it and keep it for your reference. And as for the main presentation, let's jump right into it. Let me just present it here. Here I have it. Okay. Bear with me, please. Yep. That's it. So 16 personality types. What are these 16 personality types? And how exactly do they help us in understanding about the individual? Okay. So you often might have come across these cryptic letters that people have on their profiles. These days, people have these cryptic letters on even their dating profiles. You might have come across them. INFP, ENTJ, ENTP, ISTJ. What does this really mean? What is this? So, what people are referring to, what these cryptic letters, what this code represents, is a person's personality type through the Myers-Briggs type indicator. Now, let me share it with you before we begin that, there's a lot of controversy around this personality typing mechanism, methodology. A lot of people consider this as pseudoscience. But, well, pure sciences only have a limited number of avenues available with which we can understand a person's personality. Not to mention how long the entire process can be. And the so-called pseudosciences, which rely more on the intuitive aspects, they help us look at dimensions of people's personalities, which quite often evade us when we are going purely through the mechanism of traditional analysis. Okay, but even this, as you add, it will come up ahead. It's not completely, pseudo-scientific. It is based to quite an extent on the work that was done by famous psychologist Carl Jung. So here it goes. Look, the Myers-Briggs personality type indicator, this is a self-report inventory. Basically, how your personality type is given to you or is arrived at is you are made to take a questionnaire. You have to take the questionnaire yourself. You have to grade how you would react in situations, in circumstances yourself. Okay? So yes, to a certain degree, we're banking upon your self-awareness of how you would react in situations or how situations and circumstances are going to, get you to act or react. Okay? So this questionnaire for MBTI, the links are given here in the description box. If you don't know what your personality type is, you want to find out before you move ahead, you can check out one of the links here. You can take one of the tests and you can arrive at your personality type. I'm not associated, related with any of these organizations. I just found them the best, and I've given the links here, so you can go and check them out. So this questionnaire was developed by Isabel Myers and her mother Catherine Briggs, based on their work with Carl Jung's theory of personality types. Now, this is a very popular test today, but yeah, people have their reservations attached to them. How this works is that this is an introspective self-reporting questionnaire. Yep, that's true, but we're basically working with 4 categories. And across those 4 categories, we're trying to assign what are your dominant traits. These 4 categories are introversion or extroversion, sensing or intuition, thinking or feeling, judging or perceive. So how everything is arranged is that there is this rough categorization of these extremes or these types of behaviors that a person is more drawn to or that a person is more inclined to. Some people are introverts, some people are extroverts. Some people rely more on their intuition. Some people rely more on what they can sense. Some people are more practical. Some people follow their emotions, follow their feelings. So, that's how it's arranged. Across these categories, you get what your dominant personality type is. How that works? Well, the primary foundations of these categorizations are inspired by the work of, as I told you, Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung in his book, Psychological Types. The photo that you see here is an original photograph of the actual book. And in his book, Carl Jung introduced the ideas of these cognitive functions. What are these cognitive functions? Well, cognitive functions are mental processes within your psyche, and they're present regardless of common circumstance. Cognition is about how you understand the world. And the way that you understand the world is inherently a personal trait. A lot of people can share a common way, a common pattern of cognition, but everybody has their own unique, distinct flavor. And at the end of the day, the way that you interact with the world, the way that you perceive, with the way that you absorb the world is what forms your personal reality. Okay? So Jung theorized that people display 4 primary cognitive functions: sensing, intuition, thinking, and feeling. Each one of them have been assigned an alphabet. Okay? Now, these functions are further modeled by attitudes. What are these attitudes? Well, you will either express these traits externally, extrovertedly, or you will exhibit these traits introvertedly. Okay? So, for example, intuition. You will either be using your intuition internally, that is, in how you're processing information, or you're using it externally, as in this is how you're communicating with the world. Okay, you'll understand more as we move ahead. Stick with me. Okay, now they are also classifiable by rationality. What is rationality? As I said, a lot of these things, a lot of these systems that we talk about, they're considered pseudosciences. Why? Because there is not a lot of rational basis for things that are intuitive or things that employ your intuition. Some people can have great intuition. They can help police solve crimes with that. But that's not something that we can rationally explain. That's not something that we can rationally quantify. So this is a further typing. This is a further refinement of these traits. They can be arranged on the basis of rationality, that is, thinking or feeling, or irrational, such as sensing, judging. Okay. Now, when you put these together, these functions together, you have 8 cognitive functions. You see NITISIFINETESEFE. What are these? SE, sensing, that is external. SI, sensing, that is internal. Introverted and extroverted. These small I's and E's, they correspond with introversion and extroversion. Okay. Intuition, that is introverted. Intuition, that is extroverted. Same thing here with feelings. F is feelings. T is thinking. So, therefore, basically what happened was that, in their typing, this mother and daughter duo, they thought that this book is pretty interesting, what Carl Jung is talking about, but it's not nearly as simplified as we can make it, so that more people can take advantage of this information, that more people can learn this and apply this. And so they arranged 16 variations of personality types: ISTJ, ISTP, ESTP, ESTJ, so on and so forth. They're broadly categorized into 2 types. There are the sensing types, there are the intuitive types, and then over there as well you see that you have extroversion, you have introversion, you have thinking, and you have feeling, everything that we spoke about. So there are 16 personality types. Okay, each personality type, as you will be able to see ahead as we move on further, corresponds to a certain set of skills that a person has, or a certain, I think, propensity, for lack of a better word, towards how they react and engage with life. Now, ISTJ is where we're beginning. Introverted, sensor, thinker, judger. ISTJs are named the logisticians or the inspectors. The individuals of this personality type are very grounded, practical, hardworking individuals. These are people who are the number crunchers. These are people who are your statisticians. These are people who are your programmers, coders, financial experts. People who like to work with facts and figures, who like to, build one thing on top of the other and move ahead. For example, Steve Jobs. Let's not even, we've not even gone ahead, but at this point itself, let's try to understand. Look at the traits over here: introversion, sensory, thinking, and judging. For example, if you talk about Steve Jobs, does he come across as that engineer sort of a person from all that you've studied about him, read about him? No, he was more of a marketer. He was more about the bigger picture, the bigger idea. Therefore, that's a different personality type. But if you think about Bill Gates, a hardcore coder. If you talk about Warren Buffett, a person who reads and reads and reads, and he, in his free time, he's going through statements and financial reports of the companies that he's investing in, which are decades old, just to try to understand, what some historical events, the sort of impact that they had on that company's decision making and the finance at that point of time. So this is kind of how ISTJs function. For example, this famous quote by Warren Buffett: "There is no formula to figure out. You have to know the business, and the company has to be run by honest and able people." ISTJs don't believe in shortcuts. In fact, I don't think that they can take shortcuts because they are addicted to procedure. That's how they function. Okay, so now, what are the primary behavioral traits of ISTJ personality types? See, these people are responsible organizers, neat, orderly, conservative in their approach, very pragmatic. And primary focus of these personality types is in making steady, productive contributions. These are the workhorses of any organization. So the CEOs are mostly visionary types, right? The CFOs would be people quite often who are ISTJs, or director of operations. CTO would be somebody who is an ISTJ. Okay? These people are practical, reserved, quiet, and somewhat resistant to change. Their resistance to change is actually a double-edged sword. It's both their strength as well as their weakness. Why strength? Because they will try to find, let's say, as a lawyer, as an engineer, they will try to find precedent for what is being talked about, what is being researched, what is being discussed. They will try to find a precedent for that. And quite often they will find it because so many precedents, so many examples are found within the system, within the past. That's how judges work too, right? It's a double-edged sword. Why? Because the same thing can also mean that resistance to change can also mean that they might sometimes miss out on big opportunities. They might arrive late to the party. Okay? Now, they are introverted, which is a part of their nature, but that does not mean that ISTJs are antisocial. No. Introversion is just one of the ways in which they primarily like to roll, so to speak, keeping to themselves, maintaining a low profile, focusing on work, focusing on tasks at hand, not worrying too much about, all the frills. They know where they belong in life, they know their community, and they want to understand how they can participate in established organizations and systems. They give a lot of importance to loyalty, emphasis of traditions, very traditional, very pragmatic, as I said. And it is also for this purpose that they may sometimes come across as blunt. Why? Because their way of looking at things is very numerical, sort of good, bad, right, wrong, 0, 1, very binary. They can tend to be like that. They're not very imaginative, but they're more about practicality. We'd also come into, why is it that they aren't very imaginative? So the ISTJ personality type is one of the most common, making up 11 to 14% of the population, and around 14 to 19% of men have this personality type compared to 7 to 10% of women. Why is that? Because this is more of a practical, grounded thinking sort of an approach. Women tend to be imaginative. Women tend to be intuitive. This isn't really much of that. This is more about, you look at a differential equation and you solve it. That's it. There's only one way that you can solve equations. And yeah, you might come to multiple sets of solutions, but you're not going to break the wheel and invent something else. So you look at statistics. If you want to make predictions, you run the same sort of programs. Okay, you make the projections. There is a given adhere to sequence of steps that you need to take when you're going about something in accomplishing a task. Okay, why isn't it moving ahead? Yeah, now this is important. So this is the functional stack. What is the functional stack? The functional stack talks about the different traits and how they employ these traits. See, there are 4 attributes, right, that we talked about. How exactly, when we talk about these cognitive functions, how are they using these cognitive functions that we talk about? So introverted sensing is the one that is the most dominant with these people. What is introverted sensing? It's like understanding, thinking, relating everything that they are processing in their environment internally. Extroverted thinking is the auxiliary functional stack, but they think, how they share it with the world. Introverted feeling is the tertiary, and inferior is extroverted intuition. We'll go into the details as well, but what does it mean? See, extroverted intuition being the most inferior trait in their functional stack means that they do not deal with life situations intuitively. These are not out of the box thinkers. These are not people who, as I said, would be, tempted to or willing to break the wheel or, create something completely new. No, they work with precedent. They work with within the system. So if they have to, solve a situation, or if they have to assume leadership of a company, or in a situation where the future is completely uncertain and there has been a lot of disruption, these people can often find themselves to be out of depth, which is not something which is critical. No, they have their strengths and weaknesses, right? They just don't prefer to do it like that. And why that is, we'll come to it. Look, bear with me, please allow the slide to change. Okay, so introverted sensing. What does this mean? So Jeff Bezos is another great example of an ISTJ personality type. A dominant SI function shows that ISTJs have an organized and uncluttered, rich inner mind that primarily works to piece together similar pieces of information. So, for example, when they're faced with a problem, they relate that problem with the problems that they've already faced, that they've studied, that they've learned, that they've worked with, to draw comparisons, draw parallels, and understand, okay, this is how we need to proceed. For example, this is such a great quote. Look how Jeff Bezos has explained how Amazon looks at customer experience. We see our customers as invited guests to a party, and we are the hosts. It's our job every day to make every important aspect of the customer experience a little bit better. Okay, look at the analogy. And it's probably, not a surprise at all that may well have been how he started thinking the foundations of what the customer experience should be with Amazon. So ISTJs use sensory familiarity. As I said, draw parallels and comparisons, what they already know, what they've already studied, what they've already experienced. This is what gives them a sense of stability in life. Okay, so I know this, I have done this, and therefore this is how I should proceed. They process details via comparison. So that's why, they're pretty straightforward, linear sort of individuals. Coding works very well with them. Auditing, engineering as well, architecture. Okay. If you have somebody close to you who is an ISTJ personality type, and if you want to interact with them, or if you want to build a better connection with them, you will need to understand that they will prefer order. They will prefer a fixed way of proceeding with things. They will not be able to appreciate this go with the flow kind of mentality. It'll be difficult for them. Okay. Extroverted thinking. This is their secondary trait. Denzel Washington as well is a famous ISTJ personality type. And look at his quote over here. Dreams without goals are just dreams. Yes, because these are very goal-oriented people. How am I going to achieve my yearly goals? Well, for that, I have to achieve my monthly goals. How will I do that? For that, I have to achieve my weekly goals. How do I do that? For that, I have to achieve my, daily goals, hourly goals. That's it. That's how they proceed. Okay. So TE, extroverted thinking, is the primary way of interaction with the world of ISTJ folks. ISTJ folks. This means that they love efficiency, enjoy competition, and employ logic to solve problems. For example, you hand over a Rubik's Cube to somebody who is an ISTJ, how they will solve that Rubik's Cube is that they will work out exactly what are the steps, how is that system working, what you have to do with it. Chess. If they are playing chess or if they are playing any sort of a sport, their way of playing that sport better will be to look at a lot of strategies that have been employed in great games and some great incidents of that game being played. For example, these people would be very good with remembering. So, this year, let's say, Football World Cup, 1984 or something like that, and this year, this match, this is what happened, and this is the formation that the team was using, and this is the strategy that they used to go on the counter attack and score goals, that sort of a thing. So this also explains why, as I said, Warren Buffett spends such a long time reading so many old reports, so many old financial statements, to try and understand what happened, how these companies reacted, what is sort of measures they took, what exactly, how did they react. This helps him also look at new situations as they arise, because his mind can trace back a precedent for that and relate it with it. Okay. So T is the primary trait people see about these people. This is a secondary function, but this is extroverted. That is why, the secondary function, since it is extroverted, this is how people see them. People see them as people who can think. This is the energy that they're putting outwards, because they're sharing their knowledge, they're sharing their mind with the people that they come across in solving problems. Okay. Yeah. Oh, Angela Merkel, another example of an ISTJ. So introverted feeling is a tertiary function. You look at her quote and it gives you a lot of idea, how exactly that pans out. I'm courageous at the decisive moment, but I need a good deal of startup time. And I try to take as much as possible into consideration beforehand. So this tertiary function is working below the surface internally. You cannot see it. This is something that they are using. This is how, the tertiary functions work. Introverted feeling means that ISTJs are sensitive to their surroundings, including the feelings of others. It's not that they're complete robots, if all they are concerned about are numbers, precedents, and no. That is how they're processing the universe. That is how they're understanding, things that are going on around them. But introverted feeling, this shows that, by the way, also what that means is that introverted sensing, that's the most dominant trait. But then there are other levels to it as well. Everybody has cognitive functions, these cognitive functions. Some are dominant, some are not so dominant, but you are always using them. And you can also work to, strengthen your weaker cognitive functions. Obviously, with enough practice, with enough exposure, that is what happens. So the FI function works as the gut feeling that helps ISTJs make decisions in accordance with their value systems and how they need to act. Since it is introverted, ISTJs take a while to assess situations and get in touch with their true values. So if they have to take a decision, if they have to take an important decision, or they have to take an important call as a boss, as a leader, It'll take them a while to process everything. They will take their time in processing the tasks, the information that is in front of them, and then moving forward with it. Okay. Extroverted intuition. So Robert De Niro, another example of ISTJ personality type. And this is actually a very good example. We'll come to the example later. So let's talk about first what extroverted intuition means. See, this is their weakest function. And as I said in the beginning, weakest function means that when they have to encounter situations or when they have to act and lead in situations that they have no experience of, that's where it's difficult for ISTJ personality types. They can't just think out of the box. They need something to work with. And it's actually very interesting, because even in art, even with artists, a lot of artists were imaginative artists. And a lot of artists were artists that needed something in front of them for them to paint, for them to draw, for them to see. So with ISTJs, whenever they have to encounter a new situation, a brand new situation, something that they've never encountered or dealt with before, they need to come up to speed with that situation. For example, in Robert De Niro's case, he worked 15-hour days for a month driving cabs as preparation for his role in The Taxi Driver. Taxi Driver, one of the most famous movies of all time. And he studied mental illness, and during his off time when filming in that time period, he visited a US Army base in northern Italy and tape recorded conversations with Midwestern soldiers so that he could pick up their accent. So this is for two different movies and how he worked. Now you can also say that no, sir, that's just method acting. Yeah, method acting, that's true. Everybody's not going to go to that much of an extent for method acting. All actors have their own ways of working. And yes, in fact, a lot of method actors are ISTJs, 101%. That's true. A lot of method actors are ISTJs. But even then, the level of detail that you're putting in your research, okay, that is different. Some people are intuitively able to understand and they're able to think laterally. Okay. It's not that ISTJs cannot think laterally. It's just that they're the people who like to work in the present with actual tangible facts, things, situations to move ahead. Okay. So ISTJs, when we're talking about relationships, how are they? If you have a partner who is an ISTJ, okay. ISTJs are loyal, pragmatic, and traditional in relationship roles. Yeah, they are traditional because, as I said, pragmatic in their approach. The primary conflict may arise from their stubbornness. Stubbornness, well, obviously, because they see that there is only one way of doing things, and that is a right. It's not that they're wrong. It's just that if, let's say, they have an unconventional partner who looks at life from an unconventional perspective, or who debates with everything that they come across, let's say an ENTP, it'll be difficult for them to manage with such a person because they like to work with rules. They like to work with, within the laws, within a specific framework. ISTJs prefer to solve all problems with tried, tested, and pragmatic solutions that to them are linear and conventional. Okay. So ISTJs prefer traditional gender roles, and one thing that is good about ISTJs is that they are very committed. They're committed as individuals, and also because they hate change. Once they're committed to you, they're not likely to want to change at all. It's just that they're not going to commit very easily, but when they do commit, yeah, because there's that inertia to change. But when they do commit to you, they're not going to want to change. They're not going to be able to change that easily. I mean, change the partner. And don't try to change them either. What you see is pretty much what you get, what you'll have to work with. So let's say you're marrying an ISTJ, or let's say you're in a relationship with an ISTJ and you're thinking that after marriage, they're just going to change. That's not going to happen. Okay. They need a hardworking partner. That is one thing which is very important, because they need somebody who's as committed as them. So ISTJs can still be quite stubborn, bookish, judgmental, and strict both towards themselves and others. The shadow side of an ISTJ comes out in situations where they're failing to deliver. They need to learn to let go and have fun trying new things. Yes, because, hating risk and being pragmatic and being, safety oriented, stability focused is good as a partner. You need a partner like that. Yes. But in a partner, you also want somebody who can let down their hair and have fun, who are open for new experiences. You don't want to be stuck in a routine. You don't want to be, going through the same routine, same things over and over, because it's getting tiring. So this is something which is a little bit of a negative trait with ISTJs. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, here are some majors that ISTJs do well with. Let's say you have a child, or you yourself an ISTJ, and you are having trouble picking out the best major for yourself in college. So these are some majors which can work well with ISTJs, because they gel well with the way that ISTJs tackle life. Okay. Logical, scientific fields suit them best, as also managerial roles, because they like to, work with things where they have a lot of physical, tangible skills to work with. Their organizational skills are put to good use. Law, is really good. Company law, specifically, they do pretty well with company law and income tax law. Accounting, construction as well. There are very few people in construction who are coming up with a brand new approach. Even then, you have a structural engineer. You have, so many different types of engineers who are part of construction, medicine, software, medicine as well. Study, you understand this is the way of treatment, this is the way of doing tests, these are the kind of medicines that you prescribe, this is the way that you treat a patient. That's it. It's pretty set. You have to work with that, and you have to absorb all of those facts and keep working with it. Software, finance, architecture, business as well. Not entrepreneurship, business. But yeah, obviously, entrepreneurship as well. You will see that Jeff Bezos, he's an entrepreneur. You see Bill Gates, he's an entrepreneur. Yes, that's true. But if you look at what they've created, what they've worked with, these are pretty much ideas that were around already, that they have revolutionized. Amazon is an online store. It's an online shop. Microsoft is a operating software. The real disruptive force was the iOS. The real disruptive, imaginative, thinking, something which did not exist, is something like PayPal, is something like the iPhone, the iPod. So that's the imaginative side of things, but that's more entrepreneurial. This is more about business, running a good, successful company, how you do it. Okay, making a lot of profit for the shareholders and investors. Okay, now we're here talking about careers. What kind of careers are ISTJs well suited to? So that was about majors. ISTJs are well suited to career that requires repetition, application, and practicality, and attention to detail. Don't forget the word logistician, the keyword logistician, inspector. Inspect, learn, analyze. That's how these people do things. So, all of these you can check out are careers that they would be great at: inspector, examiner, police officer, journalist, commercial pilot, actor. Now, somebody could say that, well, police work also requires a lot of, interaction with the public. It also requires a lot of, field work. Yes, but majority of police work is working within the law to solve crimes, working with procedure. Majority of police officers are like that. It's only in the cop movies that you see that you have that unicorn police officer who does things very differently. In reality, however, mostly in police work, what you're required to do, what you're trained to do is follow procedure, follow precedent, work within the law. There is a criminal procedure code that you have to follow. There is a penal code that you have to follow. You work according to that. Okay? Software tester, technologist, mechanic, surveyor, estate developer, store manager, food inspector, physician, radiologist, electrician, fund manager, pharmacist, office manager, economist, biologist. All of these are fields. Actuaries, especially, all of these are fields which have a lot to do with working with the body of work that is already there, building on top of it. Okay? So research is, they're great with research work, but mainly they're great with routine work, like bankers, analysts. Okay? Let's see what comes up ahead. Okay, so let's just stop it. That's just the free part of the slide, the presentation in the end. Haven't put anything there. So guys, in this video, in this presentation, what we touched upon, what we covered was understanding from a basic to an advanced perspective of how this personality type works, how this personality type interacts with the world. What advice would you give to somebody who works with this personality type? And also, let's say you're hiring somebody for a role, or let's say, you're working with somebody to create something. This knowledge of personality types, and obviously you can club it with other ways of gathering knowledge and information and data. You could study their handwriting, you could study their body language. You can use other personality typing methods, other psychometric tests. You can also use Vedic astrology. You can also use numerology. And obviously, you can talk, you can understand. These things, when coupled with traditional methods as well, like NLP, or the traditional ways of psychological inquiry, and you couple these with that, you get a very powerful way of analyzing a lot of different things where common patterns will emerge, and those common patterns will tell you a lot that you need to know as a coach, as a person, and how to work with an individual, how to keep them motivated. For example, if you have a partner who is an ISTJ and you're constantly asking them to step out of their comfort zone and travel with you, these wonderful ideas that you get on a whim, it's making them pretty uncomfortable. Maybe they're averse to that. Maybe they don't like it. So this will give you an idea. Okay, this is what this person is going to like. These are habit-oriented people. This is how I have to deal with them. And also, if you're a coach and your client is like that, they'll give you a lot of ideas about how to deal with that person better. Because every personality type is going to have strengths and weaknesses. It's when the common patterns emerge that you can work with them and actually see a lot of growth. Okay? So I hope you guys enjoy this video. Please let me know in the comments what you thought. I'm going to be making 15 more videos for this as part of this series. And well, obviously the other series are going on. I hope to keep posting soon, and I hope to post more. And this PPT is going to be available on the website. You can download it. I'm going to edit out the end portion where I forgot to edit that slide. But thank you so much for watching, for being here with me. Take care. Bye.